and then we'll give it a little bit of time. What are you drinking there, buddy?
Buffalo Trace.
Any good?
Oh man, it's delicious. It's delicious, man. And after a day like today, dude, oof, it's like you have kids, Manny. I think I've asked you this before.
Yeah, they're grown and gone.
They're grown and gone, man. But you've at least knew what it was like to have them, come home to you from school and just run to you and dad and
Yeah. Had to pick him up. We had to do the whole. When we got to Texas, it was the whole drive him to school, drive him, pick him up, get in a line where all the other 500 cars waiting to pick up their kids.
I can't imagine what it'd be like to be told that you're not going to be doing that. That's not gonna happen no more.
I can't even imagine. I can't. And apparently, there's some kids that are still missing. They don't know what's going on with them. They don't know. Nobody has seen them.
Really? Yeah, because from what I heard, when the shooting happened, everybody just kind of just bolted from the school and went into nearby homes, and it was chaos.
Yeah,
it's chaos, and they're still trying to locate some kids, and man, it's insane, man.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Manny Behind the Mic. Our special guest is Raullie or Raul. Do you care which one you go by?
Nah, you can just call me RC3, man.
RC3 with his what's your podcast? Tell us about your podcast.
It is the RC3 podcast. You can find us on Spotify. We do two podcasts. One is the RC3 podcast, where I go one-on-one with local politicians or just people of interest from around here. It's fun stuff. And then the other one, it's called the Overtime Podcast. It's on the same Spotify page. So if you just search for RC3 Podcast, you can find the stuff. And the Overtime Podcast is just me and a friend after work, basically having a couple of drinks and talking about different issues, important, not so important, and everything in between. It's also good stuff. So if you can give us a like, follow us, and let us know what you think, man. Thanks for having me on, Manny.
Everybody do that. Give his podcasting page a visit. Check him out. And I'm sure by now you're fully aware of the horrible thing that happened today in Uvalde, which is about 90 minutes west of San Antonio. And 18-year-old kid, just turned 18 about a week ago, was able to buy, I don't know do you know what it was? Was it a handgun or was it like AR-15 or something?
I don't know. I don't know. I heard about the story when I was at work today, and initially it was 14 dead, right? 13 students and one teacher.
Yeah.
Now it's up to 21 dead, 18 students, 18 children, and 3 teachers. So, and I think they're still doing some investigating. There's still some in the hospital that are wounded too. Right. Waiting to see the outcomes of that. So, man, the death count could go up even further.
Chuck, yes. Yeah, right now it's 18 and 3. 18 kids, 3 adults. That's where it stands right now. A rifle and a handgun, I'm told.
A rifle and a handgun.
Yeah, so what happened was sometime this afternoon, dude gets into it with his grandmother, shoots her, and then goes to the school for whatever reason. We don't even know if he was a student there or not, or was a student in the past. And then he just went to each classroom, opening doors and shooting into the classrooms. And I mean, I don't even know what to say about this stuff anymore. It wasn't long before the situation got politicized, which we knew it was going to happen. It happens every single time. So it was an AR-15 and a semi-automatic handgun.
Yeah.
Which is, how does 1 week? I thought there was a waiting period. I don't know how long the waiting period is. It's been a while since I purchased my guns, a long time ago. But I don't know if it's a week or 2 weeks or 10 days or what it is. I don't know. But he went out the day he turned 18 to buy them.
Okay. I mean, are we? are we going to have the discussion about whether this is mental health or whether it's just evil?
Yeah,
Or
I don't think we have a choice but to touch on all of that. Like, did something? And the thing is, we're not going to know. Did something trigger this kid? I mean, he was killed. He was shot and killed by police. So we're not ever going to get to find out. There's not going to be a trial. There's not going to be questioning or none of that stuff.
right. So all we're going to have is the breadcrumbs that led us to this social media
And the speculation of what could have happened. What could have happened to trigger this guy? And the discussion I had earlier on the live. Do you think something like those video games, like what's that? The main one right now. I already forgot the name of it. The first person shooter game.
Oh, I don't buy that shit.
That are so realistic. I know. I don't either. I mean, I don't play. I don't judge anybody who does. I don't care.
Yeah,
but
I've played my fair share of
have those things. Have those games become so? Call of Duty. Thank you. Have those things become so realistic? Yet they know it's a video game, so you kind of become desensitized to graphic violence. You think that's possible?
No, there's been some research done on that stuff. No, there's been some studies done on that stuff that have kind of disproven that. Because I know that there was that one shooting that set off. It was like that set off the dominoes in the mid '90s. Was it Columbine?
Oh, Columbine was it? Yeah,
was it Columbine, right? And
yeah, Colorado,
right? And after that point, man, I think it's they're both conservatives and the Democrats were all on the same page. The boomers, the older ones, are trying to ban video games and trying to, I guess, blame the video games at that time. And I mean, after something like this happens, it's like a, they start playing the old hits all over again. It's the video games, and it's it's the guns, and it's
gun control, not enough gun control, or the gun laws.
It goes back and forth, right? And it's the same people, getting the band back together, playing the old hits,
You just wonder what. I suppose it can be anything, but what can trigger a kid to get filled with so much rage that he feels he's got to go to a school or somewhere and shoot everybody?
Well, I mean, something has to have already been not right in this kid's head. I mean, something has already have to been off. Nobody who gets angry. Was he living with his grandma? Where were his parents?
Presumably,
all the obvious questions that are gonna come up. What was his childhood like? What was
it, a broken home? Was it one single parent home, or what happened?
Right. I mean, one of the pictures that I saw of this guy, I mean, not to cast any aspersions, but he didn't look very friendly.
Well, the latest photos that come out are showing him in female clothes, like
okay,
cross-dressing or whatever. And whether or not that has anything to do with it at this point, who freaking knows?
Man, maybe it was one of these kids that was also bullied, because of I mean, if it was cross-dressing, the way how ugly things can get, right? And then they're already dealing with their own mental health issues, and then you add that layer of anger and resentment to society on top of that, and then you have a powder keg, man.
So let me ask you this. Remember that 3 strikes law that some states have adopted? I don't know if they've kept up with it. I know California used to have that law, and I think New York did also.
Right.
Well, this kid had 15 or 18 run-ins with the law or items on his rap sheet, and I don't know. Would something like that maybe have prevented this? Have some kind of look, man, you're headed in the wrong direction. You got 6 arrests or 6 issues already. It's time to do something about this. Could that have prevented this?
And he was allowed to buy a gun,
Yep. On his 18th birthday.
having I mean, assuming they did a background check and having all that in his background, he was still allowed to buy a gun.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
There's definitely a flaw in the system, that's for sure.
So you would be for gun control in that situation?
I hate being for gun control, man, but
But
there have to be some kind of controls of some kind.
Okay, so let's not use terms that are triggering to some people. Let's talk like human beings.
I don't care if anybody gets triggered.
No, I know, but sometimes we don't want to use certain words because my team doesn't like those words, and I don't want to okay. I mean, we agree that there has to you have to go to driving school just to drive a vehicle, right? Because you don't want to be a danger to anybody on the road and to yourself, right? But it's so much easier to get a gun, right? It's so much easier, and the fact that this kid, if what you're saying pans out, has 16 run-ins with the law, and he applied for a gun on his 18th birthday and he got it, like you said, there's obviously a flaw with the system. What would Manny do about something like that?
I'm getting more photos in of this kid in drag. I mean, something was definitely going on. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I know that if somebody's got multiple arrests, I think the problem is if it's not a felony, they overlook it. And I think something's got to be done about that. That's not just because it's not a felony doesn't mean he's safe. I think there should be. It's kind of like a profile, right? Well, look, man, he's only 18 years old and he's got 15 or 18 things on it. There's a problem here. That should have raised some kind of flag.
I mean, what were the red flag gun laws? Wasn't that what that was?
Yeah, supposed to be, and they tried to do that in Texas, but it didn't. I don't think it passed. It didn't pass.
Because Texas, baby.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Do you think there should be accountability for politicians who what's the term that I want to use here? Who talk about guns like no matter what, a person's access to guns is the most important thing that's
like my access to guns is more important than what this kid did and kill people.
Right. And I mean, so again, I think it's important to iterate. I support the Second Amendment. Just like I consider myself to be pro police. I'm pro border patrol. I mean, all these things. I mean, you say them and you're automatically a part of a group, right? But
right, yeah. I
don't think that the border patrol should go beyond they're beyond criticism. Or that the police are beyond criticism, or that yada yada yada, and so I'm pro Second Amendment. That doesn't mean I believe people should have access to a tank, or that people should have access to weapons that are just gonna destroy a city, right? And especially because the Second Amendment isn't very clear on what type of weapons are allowed and aren't allowed. I mean, we're talking about the 1700s here, right?
Yeah.
And so,
and somebody's asking, was it a private gun sale or a public gun sale? I have no idea.
That's also important to know, man, because I don't know, dude. I feel like we're in this cycle of we got more guns on the streets than any other country in the world, right? And then something like this happens, and the solution is, well, just arm yourself some more, right? And then something like this happens again, just keep arming yourself. And it's like, it's clearly not working, man. You know, it's clearly not working. I was seeing before we got on the podcast that, as far as school shootings, and I don't know how they calculate this. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a way to calculate it, but this is per worldpopulationreview.com. School shootings by country 2022. America is at 288 just in 2022 alone. You know what the next country is? Mexico.
I was gonna say probably, yeah.
And just as a point of curiosity, do you know where they rank?
And they got a bigger population than we do, if I'm not mistaken.
Just take a wild guess. Like, what do you think? What do you think they're at already this year?
Well, if we've got how many? 200 and what?
88.
Well, they got to be right up there.
Start a number. Just
Mexico cartels. See, I'd be a lot higher. I'd be, I don't know, 400 or 500.
School shootings. I mean, the way this outfit is calculating them.
Yes, well, school shootings alone. See, I never even hear of school shootings in Mexico.
Yeah, me neither. Well,
you hear about shootings everywhere else, huh?
Yeah, they're at 8 school shootings. 8.
I was going to say, I never hear about school shootings in Mexico.
Or almost anywhere else.
Yeah.
And that's the second highest. They're the second highest country. So something's going on here in America, man. We're at 288. And again, they're not taking in. They're not. It's not just shootings where people are murdered. They're just talking shootings. A gun went off at some point. Right. In a place where there's students and where there's teachers, right? 288, right? And then the next country, Mexico, is at 8. Like, what do you think? Like, politics aside, like, what do you think is making up that difference between us and every other country in the world? I think is it culture? Is it our social fabric? Our morality is just deteriorating? Is it the fact that we just have too many guns on the streets? I mean, you know what's funny, when they banned guns in London, in England, right? Uh-huh. So you know what happened after that? The gun shooting stopped. People started knifing each other? People started stabbing each other. Then there were mass stabbings at grocery stores and at schools, and the same thing in China. It happened with knives, and that still happens, yet not at the level that these school shootings are going on. Yeah. There's definitely some kind of I don't know if I'd call it cultural, some kind of mental, and I'm wondering if it's a generational thing, right? Because once you start to have a home without both parents, they say, and I believe it, that's when a family can start to deteriorate. And I'm not saying there's single moms and single dads out there that do it every day and they're doing a great job. Right. That's not you guys. I'm talking about the general situation where, single parent homes where especially young men have a problem, have issues. And, and I don't have the answer. I don't think the answer is more gun control. I think something's got to be done with, if you want to call it gun control, something at the purchase level, something in that, I'll call it that control. Somebody's got arrests. Doesn't matter if they're not felonies, but if they got a history of a crime, or a history of, there has to be a way when people get arrested, there has to be some kind of a checkbox. Like, hey, was there aggression issues? Yes. But see, just again, I don't mean to cut you off, but if we're talking about single parent homes, the U.S. again leads the world at 23%. But the UK is right behind us at 21%. Russia's at 18%. France 16%. So those are the closest to us. The UK was, like I said, is the close second at 21%.
And then what are the populations of all these countries? Ours is in the 330 range.
Yeah, the UK is obviously way smaller. Russia's at 18%. I mean, so again, man,
Yeah.
obviously it's not just one thing, right? It can't be just one thing. You know, it's one of these issues where there's like a whole lot of contributing factors, right? A perfect storm, if you will. It's like a cocktail of just bad shit happening, right? So, you know, fatherlessness. You know, you have the economics of the situation. You have mental health, drug addiction, culture, the fetishizing of fucking violence.
Okay, so Russia's got 145 million people.
So they got about half our population.
Yeah, we're at 334, and everything else, with the exception of China. China's the leader. They've got 1,448,000,000, 1.5 billion.
Oh, wow.
And then India just under 1.5 billion, and then the U.S. So India doesn't have these issues that we have, and then neither does China. So
again, man, like, because I do think that one of the issues is the fact that there's just too many guns, man. Like, there's just too many guns to easily accessible. You know, I mean, I know that's a hot topic for some, and don't you dare talk about my guns. But I mean, just a quick Google search. The last I heard, there was twice as many guns on the streets in America as there are people. But I want to be sure about this.
You know, I am pro 2A, but I think I don't have a problem with tighter control of, making sales a little more either difficult or more, what's the word I'm looking for? Even if it takes longer, if it takes 2 weeks.
Right. Or, I mean, reasonable, dude. Like, it has to be reasonable, man. Like, not too much in one way, not too much in the other way, dude. Like, it almost feels like in the red states, it's a dick measuring contest about who can, like, deregulate the most when it comes to guns, man. And it just doesn't make sense to me, dude. Like, our people aren't in the right mindset to be able to have this kind of easy access to guns, dude. And again, dude, it becomes a political fucking hot potato, and the left is going to push it to the extremes, and the right's going to push it to the extremes, and it's gonna keep getting easier to get guns. And
no, I gotta say, it was disappointing to hear Sleepy Joe give his little speech a couple hours ago. And immediately,
no matter what, right, Manny?
That's true. He immediately politicized this thing, like, right off the bat.
I didn't see a speech. What did he say?
You didn't really miss anything. He just, he said it was a terrible thing that happened over there, and then he starts talking about. I found it kind of weird. He's talking about the pain that a parent feels, and it's like, dude, these parents are still going through that. That's not a good time to hit that right now. You know what I mean? And I know he lost his son, so I'm sure he's talking about some kind of experience. But then he politicized it. He went there, and it just, for me, just ruined the whole thing. What it could have been for him, like a nice gesture to.
But how did he politicize it? I'm still trying to figure out what he said.
I have to watch it again. It went to about gun control and all that, and it went political.
So we mentioned earlier that there are 393 million guns. The Small Arms Survey stated that U.S. civilians alone account for 393 million, about 46% of the worldwide total of civilian-held firearms. Jesus.
46%.
Of the world, dude.
Holy crap.
Of total civilian-held firearms. This amounts to 120 and a half firearms for every 100 residents. Jesus Christ.
Huh.
So we have 46% of the world's total firearms. And what percentage of the world population are we?
Third. We're third. It goes from 1.5 billion to 330 million. Oh, what percentage of the entire population? So the world population is 8 trillion.
I thought we were 6 billion.
Sorry, 8 billion is the world population.
Check this out. We are 4.25% of the world's population. Dude, we are 4.25%. The United States population is equivalent to 4.25% of the total world population. And we have 46% of the world's weapons. I don't know, man.
That's incredible.
It is. It's insane, dude. It's insane, man. But the U.S. is unique, dude. Like the U.S., the way the U.S. was formed, and the culture here, dude. It's unique, man. Like I'm not saying that that's in this case a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that we do have a culture where we fetishize the shit out of our guns, man. And I mean that number to me is still mind-boggling. 4% of the world's population, we got 46% of the weapons.
Yeah, I don't know what is the fix. What is the fix? I don't want to restrict guns because there are a lot of good people, law-abiding citizens that have guns. Why we got to penalize them for it? They've never committed a crime. They're not going to commit a crime. They just do it to protect themselves and their family, and they do it, and that's all they do.
Yeah.
So you're putting more control on it. I think the control's got to be at the application level. And if somebody's got a history of crime, whether it's a felony or not, I think I should raise a flag.
And then what?
Yeah, to deny people. I don't know. Maybe 18 isn't the right age. I mean, generally speaking, males don't mature until
25, 26
or higher. Seriously, or higher. So 18 is just this number. Oh, I'm a man. I'm 18. Well, you're 18, but you're nothing close to a man yet. There's a lot that comes with being a man. And just a number alone is not one of them.
Yeah, and again, that's also as far as the culture will take it. 18 now was like, I should say 15. Being 18 years old in the 60s or 70s was like being 30 now. As far as maturity and as far as I mean. I don't know, dude. I mean, it's.
I don't know. Can you say that over the decades, the generation that have passed, now there's more video games. People stay at home more. They don't get out and socialize. They're at home. They're playing games. They're doing whatever they do at home. Social media. They're at home. I mean, could that have contributed to some of this problem? When I was a kid, there was no Facebook or mobile phones. We had to go out and play. I'd go home, do my homework, and I'd be out from 5 or 6 till 10 o'clock at night before I got home. Outside activities, running around, sports, whatever.
Right. Well, let me ask you this question.
Now everybody's just...
If you had this many guns in the hands of people, let's say in the in the 1800s, or in the 1700s, and you had schools and you had universities. Do you think you would see this kind of depravity?
You know, just because it was the 1800s, it doesn't mean that there was no crime. And there were all the killings were done via shootings.
Right.
Everybody shot each other. That's how they handled situations. So, it was a different culture back then. It was a different time. Right. Things were done differently.
But then there was a huge period of what we call progress, right? Where we kind of went away from the whole Wild Wild West style of handling situations, right? There was a lot of governmental malfeasance, and we all know the stories, right? But we got to a place 80s and 90s where 90s was the height of crime. We had the crime wave in 92, 93, but after that it stabilized. It really did for a good 20, 30 years. Are we just seeing a blip on the radar, a little dip, and overall we're still doing better, and we're just, or what about the fact that now, like, everything everything is broadcasted now, right? You and I are broadcasting right now, talking about this, so everything is amplified, and any event that happens is amplified times a million compared to what it was in the 90s, right? Or even in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, right? So we find out about these situations so much faster than we ever have as a society, right?
Immediately, and it's everywhere you look, on your phone, on your tablet, on your TV, on your watch.
Right.
It's everywhere.
Right, dude. So, I mean, I found out as soon as it happened that some guy in, was it Boston, had contracted monkeypox, right? And that's the next big thing to be concerned about, right? But again, man, like, how can you not feel this way? How can you not feel like everything is going to shit when, like, your phone, dude, that you have in your hand, goes off every 10 minutes. Church shooting last week, another shooting today, monkeypox, fucking the economy's going to shit, inflation, gas prices, dude. It's like, man, you're just compounded with negative after negative after negative, and it's easy to feel like the world's hitting a wall, man. Or is the world hitting a wall?
I think it does. It can feel like that, and it was said somewhere. For the life of me, I'd have to spend a week or two looking it up. But it was said, even though this is going on, we're still not that bad.
Yeah.
And it would seem that bad because of the exposure that these events get. And how many of these are there that go on that we don't hear about? Right. Like you said, how many school shootings are there here in this country? All right, well, that doesn't mean they were mass killings. Right. You said 280 of them.
Right.
Let's say there were 20 that were actually somebody went in and tried to kill 10, 12, 15, 20 people.
Yeah.
And the rest were just random shooting between two gangs or two guys, or so that doesn't make it fair in that aspect. You have to consider every single situation.
Right.
So, and then once you pick it apart and look at the details and the statistics, okay. So these were actually 18 situations of a guy going in and trying to kill everybody in school. And once you pick it apart and you have that small handful, then it's not as a big of a problem. I mean, it's always a problem when people are going around shooting people, especially kids.
Yeah.
But I just mean it doesn't seem as like an epidemic.
Right. It's also kind of just the terrible nature of of the event, right? You know, you have 18 kids gunned down, three adults, three teachers so far. I
Yep.
mean, one of those is a year is enough to get people talking, or to get people wanting some kind of action, right? And to get media talking about it for weeks. It's maybe circus isn't the right word. Circus is definitely not the right word, but it's the circus around these kind of events, you know, that that stay with us for a very, very, very long time,
Yeah.
you know. And you add to the fact that there's a good solid 3 or 4 of these a year, you know, the shootings plus all the trappings around it, you know, the media coverage, the political fights, everything. I mean, these, they stay with us, right? They stay with us because they're conversations that aren't only about the tragic event. They're conversations that we're now having with our neighbors about gun control. And we're now investing ourselves personally into every one of these situations because they're conversations that now we're having at a bar with somebody, right?
Yeah.
And you know, we're talking about, just like you and I are talking about it, about what things that could be done, what's going wrong in our society, what's happening to our kids, what's happening, you know, seemingly only here in this country, right? Like what's behind this is going on. I know if I have a conversation with my dad about it, he's going to tell me this is what happens when you take God out of school, right? If I have a conversation with an atheist buddy, he's going to tell me, well, this is what happens when you allow the freewheeling, you know, guns to be everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like everybody has a different prescription for this. So
somebody will always say, all right, well, we need more gun laws. Is that the answer?
I don't think gun laws is going to solve the underlying issue, man. We're sick, dude. I feel like we're sick, man. As a people, I feel like we're not healthy, man. Like we're not healthy as a people.
All of this starts at home.
But
Home. And I'm talking about raising the child, raising that kid in a manner that is morally, you know, healthy. And again, I go back to the two parent thing. I know people do it with a single parent. I'm not talking about you guys, but statistically, children are better off in a home with two parents. And not just that, involvement with your kids. You know, buying them a video game and throwing them in their bedroom, say, all right, you know, see you do your homework, see you tomorrow. And that goes on 5 days a week. That's not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, families used to go out, have dinner, go out, go to a movie together, everything together. Be involved in your kids' school, be involved in their homework, know who their friends are. When I was growing up, my parents knew all my friends and their parents. So when I was going to Joe's house, they knew who his parents were. When I was going to Dale's house, they knew who the parents were. And they knew where they lived. There's involvement. Now it seems like people take the Facebook friends too literally. That's one problem. And just because you got 500 friends on your Facebook, those are not your friends.
Yeah.
They're Facebook friends. I mean, if you can make actual friendships out of them at some point throughout your life, well, that's a different story. But social media friends are not real friends. I mean, you don't know these people, and they don't know you. I mean, they know us better because we're like not always putting our life out there in public, right? But I think parents need to be more involved with their kids, with their school, with their friends. Allow friends to come over, get to know the friends, get to know the parents. I mean, that whole situation, it's just out of control. Both parents are working, so you leave the kids alone to fend for themselves.
Yeah,
and that's the problem too.
I don't disagree with you. The only problem is that you can't legislate that. You know, like what's a legislative fix for something like this. Like we elect representatives to be able to solve problems, hard problems in society, right? Societal problems, right? This falls under that category. What legislative fix is there for something like this?
I mean, what can you do? Both parents have to work, because a single parent, a lot of the times, for the middle anyway, is not enough. Whether they didn't get the right education growing up and didn't find a specific trade or get a degree for this or that. Because remember, it used to be a single parent, one parent working. Dad worked and he brought home the bacon, and mom would be home cooking and cleaning and dealing with the kids.
But the economy was different back then.
Yeah,
the economy was such where you could raise a family with one parent working.
Yeah, and that doesn't exist anymore.
You can't do that anymore, man.
But even that, you can't legislate that. I mean, single parent. If you're a single parent, okay, you get an extra $50,000 bonus from the government just because.
I mean, no, you that'd be nice, but you can't do that. But the economy needs fixing. It needs to be retooled, man. I mean,
yeah, and I'm not
start off with the basics, man. I mean, the minimum wage, for example, is still $7.25. $7.25, dude. Like,
that's a 14-year-old's job.
Right, and that's almost going to be the price of a gallon of gas. Right, but again, the economy is such where sometimes a single mom is having to work two of those jobs. So now she's getting $15 total, working two jobs, trying to raise a couple of kids. You know.
Meanwhile, because she's got to do that, the kids are raising themselves.
The streets are raising the kids, yeah.
Or the streets, or the young siblings are raising each other.
And then you add to that,
raising babies.
And then you add to the fact that suddenly you have a situation where these streets provide guns very easily, and the access to firearms is very. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of different sides to this, man, that just validate each other. Like, all these different problems just help each other to create just a powder keg that we're seeing, dude. Like, the single parent problem, the fact that there's just too many guns everywhere. Guns aren't going to shoot themselves. Yeah, that's true. But the fact that they're easily available for, kids that could be troubled, that doesn't help. And then you add the situation where the mothers, fathers working two jobs, isn't around. You add the economic situation, man. It's bad.
So somebody commented, counseling works. I encourage everyone to get a therapist.
Those motherfuckers are expensive.
Well, that too. I'm sure there are counseling services available for, when you don't have a lot of money or don't have any money. And I'm sure your employer's insurance may even, cover that, right? But every time somebody says that, and I know what you mean well, purely Nanda. But every time somebody says that, I think about the movie Good Will Hunting. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
The guy's trying to hypnotize him, and he pretends he's hypnotized, and he starts singing Afternoon Delight. Kids are not going to sit through that, and they will weasel their way out of that, and they will never be sincere enough to give it a try, because they're going to deny that anything's wrong.
I mean,
unless you're a parent, you're going to force them to go to therapy.
I mean, yes and no, man. I mean, you'd be amazed by the power of just having somebody listen to your problems. I mean, you'd be amazed at the power of just having somebody listen to your grievances, man.
But the kid might not think he needs a grievance. He's just a kid. He don't think it is a problem. He's just It's like, why are you sending me here? Well, because you're acting up in school. I said, no, I'm not.
And maybe, I mean, it can't hurt. It can't hurt.
And then another comment: could some of these parents be relying on their faith to endure what a person chose to do?
What does that mean?
Could some of those parents be relying on their faith to endure what a person chose to do? Do you mean? How do you mean that? Do you mean, well, that's God's will and that's what's supposed to happen or something? Is that what you mean, Nelda?
Thoughts and prayers?
Right?
Like Chuck would say, I would send my thoughts and prayers to you any day of the week.
Okay, I'll agree with this. This is definitely a problem. All right?
Stop the bullying.
Bullying is a problem.
Well, I mean, we're trying to. I mean, there's campaigns all across the country to stop the bullying, man. Like,
you know what has to stop is the cancel culture. What has to stop is people afraid to confront something.
It took you 46 minutes, man. You were doing so well before you mentioned cancel culture.
That's
You're doing so good, man. I was wondering if we'd make it past the hour.
What's missing is a parent having, even the parent themselves. Not every parent has this. You take your kid and go, you know what? Don't let him talk to you like that. So what? So he made fun of your blue shoes. So what? So what? Laugh it off and walk off and ignore the fool. Don't start crying because he insulted your blue shoes. Who cares?
Pity the fool.
You gotta get a thicker skin to grow. Not start crying about everything or not be upset about something. Oh, he said my mother was this. So what? So freaking what? You know, when you react to a bully, that's how the bully's gonna keep getting a rise out of you. He's gonna keep on going.
So we shouldn't cancel the bullies?
No. Well, cancel the bullies. The bullies is the other problem. The problem is, how do you react to a bully? How do you react to criticism? You know, it's that whole participation trophy thing. That's related to this. You gave them a participation trophy because they started crying because they didn't win. Here, I'm going to give you a bottle of water anyway because you're such a great kid and you tried. Wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong.
I want to know the names of the wolves that raised you, Manny. Such a heartless man.
Come down to Chicago sometime. I'll show you.
No, man. No, you know what? This is related because we're talking about fathers that aren't present and single parent households or whatever. I must have been in second grade, and I had this bully who was in fifth grade, big old guy, and his older brother was in a gang in middle school, and we were talking early 90s, right? Maybe mid 90s. And one day he just beat the crap out of me, right? And gave me a good ass kicking, dude. I don't know what it was. Maybe he just didn't like the way I looked. He didn't like that my beard was better than his, even though I was only in second grade. But something about me he didn't like, right? And so he was oppressing the shit out of me, dude. Like I felt scared. I mean, it was one of those situations that people talk about. You feel like I don't want to go to school. I was scared. So one day I go home. My dad's outside barbecuing with my uncle. And I just tell him, I go, hey, Dad, this is what happened. I had a bloody nose. And so he tells me, okay, tomorrow, wait for me outside of school when it's over. Wait for me by the bridge. There used to be a bridge that separated a north and the south parts of the school, right? And so he goes, wait for me by the bridge on your side, and you're going to point this kid out to me. Sure enough, the next day, bell rings. I wait exactly where my dad tells me to. Mm-hmm. And I see the bully. I see the kid, right? And my dad's approaching me, and I point out the bully. So my dad drags me along to go confront the bully, right? And I didn't know what my dad was going to do, but he taps the bully on his back, and he tells him, "I go in so many words, verbatim, right?" He goes, "My son has told me that you're the guy that's been beating him up. He goes, here's what's gonna happen. Both of you are gonna fight right now." He goes, "You're both gonna fight, and it's gonna be a fair fight, and I'm gonna basically referee it. Whatever happens afterwards, you're never gonna touch him again. If not, I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna kick your ass. And I'm gonna kick your dad's ass." And so he goes, "The other option is you shake hands right now, and you never fuck with him again. You take your pick." And you know what the bully did? He decided to extend his hand and shake it, and he never messed with me again. I mean, it's a simple story of my dad intervening in what was my ass constantly getting beat, right? But imagine if I didn't have a dad around in that case, right? And that kept on happening, right? And I never learned the tools of how to handle situations like that, right? And I'm putting myself in the situation because I'm trying my best to relate to how somebody could become so resentful of society, kind of like the movie Joker, right?
All right.
Have you seen Joker?
Yep.
That was a situation of mental health and societal, bullying and what have you. It doesn't justify what he did, but at least you understand how he got there, right? And and again, man, I mean, I'm kind of at cross purposes here, but I was lucky that I had my dad to kind of show me the ropes of life, right? To kind of guide me along the way, and I'll forever be indebted to my dad because of that. Dude, there's a lot of kids, man, that don't have anywhere near that, and it's tough, man. It's a situation that I'm pretty sure could prevent a lot of crime from happening in the future if we could just get our shit together as men in that situation.
Yes, 100%, 1,000%. You have, I don't know how much of Jordan Peterson you listen to.
I'm very familiar with Jordan Peterson.
But this is the exact thing that where he started preaching is that nobody's guiding these young people to tell them, you know what, you got a purpose to serve in this life. You don't know what it is yet, but you have a purpose. And you got to find what that meaning is in your life so that you can go there and live a meaningful life, not just to you, but to others. And there's nobody there telling young people that. There's nobody. So he's doing these lectures and people are coming to him and he's telling them, you know what, you are worth something. There's a purpose.
Right.
And you got to find that purpose.
And you see, it's interesting that you mentioned Jordan Peterson because have you ever read his book, 13 Rules for Life?
Yeah, I'm halfway through it.
Okay. I don't know if you noticed it when you read it like I did. The rules are very basic rules. Right? Clean up your bed. Clean up your room.
The whole clean up your room is get your shit together first before you go tell somebody else to clean their room.
Right.
Yeah.
But you see, what I'm saying is that it's kind of the back to the basics. It's nothing, out of the box. It's nothing particularly intellectual. It's nothing particularly new. It's just back to the basics, man. And it's interesting how well it was received by a bunch of mainly men, right? Mainly young boys, particularly well received, which tells you a lot, man. It tells you that they've had nobody there to tell them these things, right?
Yep.
I mean, that tells you a lot.
Yeah, that they're really starving for somebody to tell them that, for somebody to guide them and to tell them, you know what?
Clean up your room.
Clean up your room because there is a purpose to all of that. And your mom yelling at you to clean the room, it's not quite the same thing we're talking about here, but really it is. It's like, take care of yourself first before you start giving opinions or giving direction on how to do things.
Right.
And that's one criticism of this country, is that here we are wanting to give $40 billion to Ukraine, yet we have a shortage of baby formula, and now we're having baby formula flown in from other countries, but we're sending $40 billion. It's things, priorities, and there's nothing wrong with saying it. And if you think this is wrong, it's too bad, but we got to take care of. Clean your room is, what? Let's take care of our country. Let's get our shit together here.
Right.
Before we go out and try to fix the world. Yeah. That's what that means.
Yeah, I mean, the whole baby formula shortage thing, do you know, have you read into why the shortage happened in the first place?
There was a manufacturing plant in Michigan where the formula was contaminated.
Right.
And the FBI looked into it, and the FBI shut it down.
And there had been whistleblowers from within the company,
right,
that were trying to alert the company itself. Hey, dude, like, babies are dying. I think two babies had died.
2 died, yes.
And the company refused to do. What company was it? Abbott.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Then the company refused to do anything about it, and eventually they had to shut down one of the largest production plants in the country, right? You see that right there, when we talk about like clean up our house, it's like we gotta, in China they had a similar situation where a company did the exact same thing. They put the health of babies after their profits. And you know what China did to their CEOs? You can research this. You can Google this. They fucking put them to death, dude. They put them to death. Now, what are the chances that these CEOs at Abbott will even go to jail? Will even receive a fine?
Nope, not gonna happen.
Because in this country, dude, profits go above anything, man.
Yep.
Go above anything. And now we haven't have formula flown in from Europe, and people are laughing at us. People are laughing at us because it's a sad situation, man.
Priorities are way out of whack.
Priorities are way out of whack, man. It's like, what is our purpose as a country, Manny? Like, what is our purpose as a country? Like, do we even know what our purpose is? Like, is it to be the best? Is it to just beat our chests around the world and say that we're number one? Is like, what is our purpose, man? Are we here to serve? Are we here to serve humanity with our advancements, with our plentiful economy? Are we here to serve people, or like what is our purpose as a country? Have we even asked ourselves that question as of late?
Yeah, I think as a country, it's the freedom to individually succeed, and as a group, I guess you can say as a country, is I'll bet there is no. Okay, so when you go to a company, it's like, what's our mission statement, right? That's what we're looking for,
right?
So what is the mission statement of the country? I don't know what that is. It's pretty much come in and you can do whatever you want. That's why we're great, because you can do whatever you want.
Right. And
if you make $1 billion or if you make $400 billion, that's okay. Hopefully you'll contribute something back to society. I like to point the finger at Elon Musk. People get on his case because he's a billionaire. And I'm like, So what? I mean, the dude has done some amazing things. You know, the electric car, rockets in space. You know, the internet he's providing around the world. I mean, these are
Let me
not
give
minor things.
my theory real quick on Elon Musk. So he sells electric cars, right? What group of people in America are the least likely to buy electric cars?
The least likely to buy electric cars.
Right.
I mean, it depends. That most people won't because they don't fit that demographic, financial demographic where they can afford an electric car.
Okay. I'm saying like ideologically, liberals are more likely to want to go that direction.
I see what you're saying. Like, okay, yep.
Republicans they're the ones that talk shit about the hybrids and talk shit about electric vehicles, right?
So the liberals, Green New Deal and Save the Planet, they're the ones going to be looking for electric cars,
right? I mean, theoretically, right?
Yep.
Theoretically, and so Elon Musk, man, dude, the guy has to sell electric cars. He can't be successful if only half of the country, or maybe he can, wants to buy electric vehicles. So what does he do? He starts trying to sound like a Republican. He starts going on Twitter, going after the easy target, talking about wokeism, talking about bullshit that nobody gives a goddamn about. You know what I mean? The culture war shit, dude, that isn't going to change anybody's life. Disney World, fucking Dr. Seuss, shit that people don't give a goddamn about. They think they.
Well, I give a damn about it. I mean, that's not. Those are not minor points, man.
I mean, compared to what?
Well, I mean, just the whole Twitter thing. The liberals, the left is going apeshit because now everyone's going to get to say what they want without being imprisoned or penalized.
I don't think Musk his whole entire thing was even to buy Twitter, man. I think it was just a publicity stunt. Either that because he's looking to get out of the deal now, right? Because he offered 44 or 42 billion.
No, he offered 44 billion based on the number of actual subscribers.
Right, but this guy is supposed to be a genius, right? It's basic stuff. You don't make an offer to a company like that without already knowing this in advance, without already knowing all of these details.
He can only go by what they told him, what the CEOs told him, what the chairman told him.
Correct.
We got X number of millions of subscribers, and only 5% of those are fakes.
Correct. Okay. So right, but he already had that information because he's allowed to have that information before he even puts an offer. So either he's
because of what they told him, though.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is that there's no difference between then and now. He doesn't have any more access to the information now than he did then. Right, because it's still not his company. He still hasn't bought it yet. They're still doing the same dance that they were doing.
No, he's been involved.
2-3 weeks ago.
He locked accounts and people that were banned, he unbanned them. That's happened. If that's happened, that means he's in.
No, that hasn't happened. He's not. He doesn't own anything yet. I don't know if you saw, but he was on a podcast like 2 days ago. He was on a podcast like 2 days ago where he was talking about what would be allowed and what wouldn't be allowed. Now, he was saying things. So they were talking about hate speech, right?
Mm.
The famous hate speech, and about what kind of things that he would allow. And he was basically repeating what Twitter's rules are right now, right? Because when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, free speech is a very, very dirty it's a very dirty issue, man. It's a very dirty issue because if you're going to allow anything on your platform, Like for Manny, like what line is too far for you as far as speech goes? Anybody can't go on and start saying the N word, right? Banned,
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
right? Banned, right? If you're Trump and Truth Social, you can't even criticize Trump, and this is supposed to be the beacon of free
Well,
speech.
I have no idea if that's true. If that's true, then that's dumb. But
That's absolutely true. That it was pointed out in one of the bylines that you can't criticize Trump or the company because you get banned from the guy that's. I mean, so but the point that I'm trying to get at is
see,
this.
but you could do the same thing if it was your company. You say, hey, don't talk bad about me. That's the only rule. Don't talk bad about me.
Right, but if I'm saying that this is going to be the only free speech platform out there, then I can't be mad when people call me out for being full of shit, right? So the point that I'm driving at is that it's a lot harder than it looks when we're talking about free speech, because then you start getting into the nuances of what is and isn't allowed. So Trump. So should Trump have gone kicked out of Twitter?
I don't even know what it was that he said or tweeted that got him kicked out.
Well, supposedly,
from what I understand, the way it goes now, anybody, if you make a comment in opposition to whatever the left stance is, that's enough to get you a penalty of some kind, and that's a problem.
I mean, that sounds like a made-up problem, though. Like, if you go against the left, you get banned.
Well, why is Mike Lindell banned from Twitter?
Oh, because the guy's a maniac.
The My Pillow guy, but why? What makes him a maniac?
So, I wouldn't ban him from Twitter. That wouldn't be my position. But I can see the case being made that if you're trying to sow doubt in a U.S. election that was run fairly and that has been adjudicated in court 60 times over by different judges, Republican and Democrats, that Republican officials within the Trump administration have said that was the fairest election that we've ever seen, the most monitored election that we've ever seen, that where Republican district attorneys from Georgia, there were audits done in Georgia 3 times, one done in Arizona by Cyber Ninja that found that Biden had won.
So he talks in opposition to that.
And to what?
But he talks in opposition to that and saying, it was rigged. It was rigged because this, it was rigged because of that. And then you can go on Twitter and find LGBTQ people who want to transition their 4-year-old kid, and that's perfectly fine.
But how are those things even on the same universe?
Free speech.
So then
if this couple wants to change their little boy's gender to make him a female in front of the world to see,
but how does that
which I think is child abuse.
Well, it might be child abuse, but
it is child abuse.
But how does that hurt the Republic?
What do you mean, how does that hurt the Republic? Well, right. They spread the idea, so then the other couple says, "Oh yeah, let's change little Johnny's. They did it, so let's do it." Right. Next thing you know, you got everybody trying to change their little kid's gender.
But isn't that personal liberty?
No, because now you're getting into child abuse. Abuse. There is no liberty with child abuse.
No. If to be clear, I detest the whole.
I know you do. I'm not saying that.
I'm trying to hash out these issues. So, giving your son or your daughter puberty blockers, right? Or what is it? It's puberty blockers, right?
Well, that too, yeah.
Right. I mean, if we're talking about child abuse, how is that? Where do you stand on circumcision?
Oh, that is a religious ritual.
But it's.
Does it have benefits? I assume it does.
I mean, don't you think the parents that they're doing this thing to their child? Do you think they're purposely trying to hurt their child? Don't you think they're going into it thinking it has benefits?
They're thinking they're either thinking it's hygienic, or they're strictly, hey, it's in my Bible, so I got to do this.
Right, but
they're going to have a ceremony. The moil comes out, and it's a Jewish thing, and we're going to do it.
But
make a party out of it.
But it's still genital mutilation, and it's still torture, and it's still
protected
painful
by somebody's religious beliefs.
But who gives a shit? It should be illegal.
If it was your religion, you would give a shit.
Right, but we're talking about what should be allowed in a republic, and what the government should. We're talking about child abuse, right?
And we're talking about certain religions that have been around for freaking ever. It's not like somebody just invented Scientology a few years ago.
Right, but you wouldn't say that circumcision is a threat to the republic. As morally disgusting as I might find it, you wouldn't say it's a threat to the republic. So why would you make the case that the other one is? When somebody like Michael Lindell,
because a child who's not developed, there was at some point in my childhood I played with a doll, and then 2 weeks later I was back to playing with trucks. And you have to let young people develop, and as they get older, then you start to see what are they going to do? What are they going to be?
Again, I don't disagree with you, man.
And generally speaking, now we're getting into the whole gender discussion. Generally speaking, doctor gives birth. That's a boy. Yep, that's a girl. That's what it is. Period. Now, what happens to the kid as they're growing up, and the boy feels more feminine, and the girl feels more masculine? Those are two different separate issues.
Right.
And you have to let those play out.
And again, just to be clear, I agree 100% with you. I agree 100% with you. The point that I'm trying to get at is that to say that is akin to that is a threat to our national to national security is. I mean, you have a very, very high uphill battle to climb on that one. Right? You have all the work. I mean, compared to
free speech doesn't mean everything is a battle for national security or against national security.
Unless it literally is, right? Like the ex-president adamant that he won the election, adamant calling the attorney general of Georgia, telling them to find more votes, adamant about Mike. Did he or did he not say that? And you got
I don't even care if he did.
And you got to admit that if Biden had done that, you would be on the other side of the fence.
It doesn't matter. I should be able to come on here and go, you know what? That was rigged. That was rigged. And not get in trouble for it.
Well, you can.
And I could say, oh, and you know what? It was rigged because I saw the movie 2,000 Mules, and there's footage of all these. So that was rigged. And I shouldn't get banned for that. All this disinformation.
Have you said it before?
I'm afraid to, because I don't want to get banned for it.
You just said it right now.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Dude, a lot of, you know what? For all the crying about, conservatives saying about victimhood and victim culture, conservatives sometimes play the biggest victims, and there's they dabble in victimhood as much as the left does. I've seen advertisements for 2,000 Mules all over my Facebook. I've heard people talking about 2,000 Mules all over my Facebook. I've seen it all over Twitter. I've seen it all over Instagram. Trust me, dude. It's not being shut down like you think.
No, I didn't say it was being shut down.
And it's telling to me.
I'm just saying there are people that talk about, if you start talking about the election was rigged, they ban you, they block you or ban you or shut you down because you're giving false information. Like, no, I'm giving my opinion.
Unless you're giving false information, right?
False information would mean, I'm providing documents, legal documents, and I'm starting a lawsuit or something. Even then, I should be able to say whatever the hell I want to say.
Well, I mean, but just to be clear, dude, I mean, you're not. I mean, you can say whatever the fuck you want, and the government's not fucking with you. That's the First Amendment, right? Like, you're not guaranteed a spot on fucking Facebook. Like, the Facebook isn't the government. The Constitution provides you freedom of speech from the government, not from Facebook. You can't go to Walmart, a private company, and say whatever the fuck you want over the loudspeaker. You know, I mean, just the basic understanding of what is covered under the Constitution, I think, has to be clarified, because Twitter has their rules and the regulations. Facebook has the rules and the regulations. You just can't go on Facebook and violate the rules and then claim that they're violating your freedom of speech. Number one, that Facebook isn't the government, right? It's just that simple.
The problem is those
rules. I wouldn't ban you.
Those rules
because I got
that Facebook and Twitter have. Yeah, the government might let me say it. You know, I can put it on. I can go out, do my own website, and type it on there. That election was rigged. Trump won. They stole votes. I saw the movie. Go watch the movie, and that's my opinion. And that's what. And I can do that all day long, forever.
Alex Jones does it. Alex Jones
many times as I want to.
Alex Jones does it.
But the minute you say that on Twitter and Facebook, they're going to shut you down because their fact checkers. Oh, he's destroying the country, and he's telling people. Come on.
Right, but you don't have a right to be on Twitter. The Constitution doesn't give you a right to be on Facebook. The Constitution, I mean,
and this is what the problem is. If they're gonna provide social media, and they're gonna ask for protections from the government that they can't be sued because of what somebody puts on social media, then they shouldn't be able to make those rules like this.
That's a different conversation that we can have too.
They're protected by the government, yet they're overstepping the government. They're being protected by the government, so I don't sue. You don't sue me. You don't sue Twitter because I said something. So then, you see, it's just all messed up.
So then the solution is to take away their protection, and now give people the ability to sue them for being editors on the platform. Don't you think that's going to make the problem even worse?
See, but there's other things you do in place so people just can't sue. I mean, people sue for stupid reasons, and what happens? That's to throw this out. Let's get out of here. Go home. Go.
But that's why that protection from the government is in place, right? Like, yeah, dude. Like,
yeah, but this is too much protection. This is overdoing it, where they're like untouchable.
So if you're saying that you don't like their guidelines or their bylines, and that you want to feel free to violate those without any ramifications, well then that's one case. I mean,
if I go to Twitter and say, you know what, I believe life begins at a heartbeat. Once you believe a heartbeat, anything beyond that,
you're banned, Manny. Everybody knows, especially in my family, that life doesn't begin until you hit law school.
Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, the lady over there says, I can abort my child even 8 months when I'm about to give birth. I'll abort right there on the spot. I don't believe that.
Let's ban her too.
I'll believe her. I'll allow her the right to say what she wants to say. But we're talking different things, man. You can't, just because somebody's got a different opinion is no reason to, unless there's some kind of legitimate conspiracy and they're really trying to do some shady shit to the government or whatever, or, a conspiracy to commit crime or stuff like that. Different story.
But see, I don't. So let's get back to what we were originally talking about, right?
Foreskin.
Foreskin. We're talking about the unraveling of foreskins, in child and genital mutilation, being a national security issue in Manny's eyes.
Yeah. Save the skin.
No, but you had made a comparison that I thought was silly, to be honest. How comparing, people like Mike Lindell and the ex-president, again, getting everybody drunk on Stop the Steal, on thinking that the election was rigged, and then January the 6th happening. I mean, in context, dude, if you're going to compare that to what transitioning parents and kids, it's silly. It's silly, man.
It's not silly. It's
all right.
You know what? They should be able to say what they want to say. Unless you're talking about actually inciting some kind of telling somebody to murder somebody or telling somebody to kill somebody or I'm going to beat you up or they're going to come and get you to your house. We don't like your politics, Judge, so we're going to come and storm your front yard. Yeah, there's got to be a limit on stuff.
I hear that, man. I hear that.
And I shouldn't be able to say, "Hey, Raul, man, I don't like this foreskin talk, bro. You know what? I'll meet you outside. You better watch out when you get out of work tomorrow."
Or when somebody says, "Hey, Manny, I don't like the way you're throwing transgender kids under the bus." Right? But here we are. We're saying these things, man. We're saying them, and you want to know what, dude? I understand the standards that have been set by the Supreme Court. You know, there has to be a direct connection between the act of violence and somebody inciting somebody, but those again, dude, those are governmental standards for when Manny actually fucking does incite a fucking riot. You know, if he doesn't get his Facebook page back up and running here pretty soon.
And the problem is that Twitter or Facebook can make their own rules and be very tight about their rules. And guess what? Everybody else is afraid to make some kind of until recently to make their own new social media platform where you can do whatever you want practically. But people like Facebook has been around. It's got a gazillion users on there, so people want to stick to it.
I mean, but apparently then their model has worked. You know, you may not like it, but the model has worked. Why is nobody going over? Why is nobody going over? Right, but why is nobody going over to fucking Frank's speech? You know, speaking about Mike Lindell, or why is nobody over at Truth Social?
Yeah, because nobody's there. Because nobody's there.
Exactly. If they're so about free speech, and if that's the standard that they're going for, which they don't even. Mike Lindell. I mean, since we brought up Mike Lindell, Frank speech, right? He has his own little free speech platform. Except you can't talk bad about his faith. you can't talk bad about Christianity. You can't. It's like, bro, you're all full of shit. You're all full of shit. It's like, it's easy to talk about how free speech you are until it gets time. Until you have to get down to the nitty gritty.
I know nothing about his.
He buys Twitter. He's about to find out.
I know nothing about his platform. I don't know if you can say, or people always make shit up. Oh, you can't talk about this. You can't. I don't know because I've never seen his platform.
But I mean, if that's what you're looking for, if that's what you want, like, why haven't you heard about it? Like, why aren't you over there? You're on Facebook.
It's easy because Facebook's got a gazillion people on it, and that's where the people are.
Right.
Because that's where the people are.
Because people like Facebook.
Yeah, everybody likes Facebook, but it doesn't mean how they handle things is right. There was an article somebody put up about a guy who beat up his dog. Okay. And he was arrested and something happened. So I commented, and I'm like, somebody should do him like he did his dog. That should be his punishment. I got put in Facebook jail for that. Do you think that was right to be put in Facebook jail?
I wouldn't have done it. If I was Mark Zuckerberg, right? If I was Mark Zuckerberg, I would say, you know what? Give this Manny guy a pass. He seems like a swell guy.
It's like, there's things you can say, and some people don't comment because they're going to comment something that's going to get flagged by Facebook. So they won't well, I'm not going to say it because, Facebook's watching me, and they won't comment on anything. And I think that's horrible. But yeah, you stay because that's where the billion people are on Facebook.
Right. So let me see what you think about this. So I don't know all of Twitter's, for example's guidelines and policies, but one of those is that you can't dox people. Right? Do you agree with that?
Dox them? I agree with that. Yep.
Okay. So then you're not all about free speech, right? There's a certain line.
Well, usually, what's the purpose of doxing?
To embarrass people, to expose people.
Yeah, to say, hey, he lives here. Go over there. Here's the address. Go over there and go throw a brick in his window.
Right.
That's why I would be against it.
So, again, I'm not saying I would have banned Trump from Twitter. I don't think I would have.
I think he's pretty entertaining. I don't agree with a lot of stuff he put on Twitter. I think
Trump is entertaining.
I think somebody should take his phone from certain hours of the night give it back to him, later after breakfast. But I think it's hilarious. For just the entertainment value is funny.
Yeah, Trump is entertaining as fuck. But where was I getting with this? Oh yeah, okay. So, like, let's say the president of the United States, right? All of his rabid followers that he has, the millions and millions of people, right? When he goes after a private citizen, like when he went after the Gold Star families and their moms, right? Do you remember? Do you remember when that happened? So that family soon after was receiving a ton of death threats from Trump supporters, and I remember seeing a special done about them, and they were actually showing voicemails, getting calls to their houses, to their house, right, with threats and this and that. Donald Trump has to know this, that when he having the following that he does, that when he puts himself out there on Twitter and he goes after a private citizen like that, that it's going to have the effect of doxing, that it's going to have the effect of sicking people who are not mentally well on these private citizens. If you're Twitter, like you have to look at that shit, and you got to be like, God damn, man, like that in and of itself is enough. But that's strike one.
Okay, so you delete the tweet. Don't do it again. 3 strikes, 5 strikes, whatever it is. There you go, strike 1.
Right, dude. But he was on Twitter for a long time doing this shit. Dude, like there was like 100 strikes, 200 strikes, 200 strikes. Okay, so let's say inciting nuclear war with North Korea, the whole brimstone and fire. Okay,
which is why he went over there and shook his hand right at the freaking border.
Right. But about a week or 2 weeks before that, you remember what that was like. I mean, there was that possibility that shit was going to hit the fan anytime soon, right? And here you have the president of the United States doing diplomacy on Twitter, threatening another country that he was going to annihilate them with nuclear fire. Dude, again, man, like you okay with that?
And what did North Korea do?
I don't know, like all that aside, but like,
and what did North Korea do?
Just the act itself, like threatening nuclear war on Twitter by one of your followers. Granted, he's the president of the United States, and then all the whole other doxing and going after people. Like, dude, there's repeated violations of the Twitter.
All right, so if it's an actual act of doxing, I don't agree with that. Obviously, I don't. Somebody defending his country, telling another country, yeah, you're going to start some shit, then you're going to see what's going to happen. Watch. I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay. I mean, I guess we have a gentleman's disagreement on this one.
And they haven't done shit.
No, but you see, but the counter argument that I've heard a lot is that, so how is Trump off and Al Qaeda or all these other terrorist networks still on that that do the same thing or threaten the same thing? And that's a valid point. Like that's a valid point. If you're gonna take away the president of the United States for being a fucking maniac, then you got to be consistent across the board, man.
Yeah, you got Al Qaeda on Twitter. You got everybody.
Do you think it would make it easier on conservatives if Twitter was more consistent in how they policed Twitter? If Al Qaeda had already been kicked out and all these other maniacs had already been kicked out, and then they kick off Trump, You know
what? If you could see a pattern of consistency,
right?
I think everybody would go, "Hey, man, they did it, and then now he did it."
The rules are the rules.
Yeah.
So then it's not the rules that really bother you. It's the fact that you think your side is being targeted more than the other side.
I wouldn't say my side. I just mean anybody with something to say. If it goes against, if you offend one person on the other side, they make a federal case out of it, and all of a sudden you're taken down.
Well, I mean, I'll talk to Elon tomorrow and see what kind of a solution we can.
Yeah, and by the way, we've got. I am partnered with the Patriot News Network. In case you didn't catch that part.
I did not catch that part.
Yeah, they are a group on Facebook, and we've got requests to interview Mr. Mike Lindell. And I've got a request from a previous interview I did with his wife is to interview Dinesh D'Souza and talk about his 2,000 Mules, among other things.
Good luck with that guy, man. That guy's a beautiful evader of the truth.
Evader of the truth.
I mean, dude, I used to be a huge fan of Dinesh D'Souza. When did you hear about Dinesh D'Souza?
About what?
Like about him.
I know, but what about him?
No, like when did you hear about him as a public figure?
Well, I interviewed his wife 2 or 3 times 2 years ago. Recently, man. No, wow,
really?
More than 2 years ago. Yeah, I'd say inside of around 5 years.
Dinesh D'Souza's been around for a very, very long time, man.
Yeah.
Whenever you get a chance, dude, I don't know how interested you are in like atheist versus like Christian debates or religion. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's a debate that he had, socialism versus capitalism, against Christopher Hitchens. Have you ever heard of Christopher Hitchens?
No.
Oh man, dude, you are missing out on a beautiful mind. But there are some debates done circa 2005, 2006 on YouTube that featured Dinesh D'Souza and Christopher Hitchens. Man, if you ever get a chance to go back and just watch some of those, just to nourish your soul on religion and on capitalism and socialism, dude, man, there are some of the best debates that you'll see. So I've known Dinesh. I've known about Dinesh for a good while, man, and he was a solid shooter for a very, very long time. Obama deranged a lot of people, dude. Obama deranged Alex Jones. I mean, Alex Jones was already writing a very thin line, right? But Obama deranged Dinesh D'Souza, man. And then the whole thing happened with Obama throwing Dinesh D'Souza in jail. Yeah. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yep.
Obama threw Dinesh D'Souza in jail, right? And for election fraud, right? And now he's making a film about election fraud. I mean, I think it's very interesting because Trump was the one that kind of he gave him a pardon, right?
He addresses that situation in the movie.
So Trump gives him a pardon, right? And if you look at all of his appearances, he appeared on Bill Maher a few years back, and Bill Maher grilled him because it's like the films that he's been putting out, like they're so obviously for an audience, right? Like they're polished and they're spit shined and they're have truths, but they're marketed to an audience. They're marketed to Republicans. And the film 2,000 Mules was even criticized by Ben Shapiro, right? The facts over feelings guy, because
there were some points where they're like, well, you can't actually prove this or you can't actually prove that, so you can't just or like the main point in his film was that these mules went back over and over again to release these ballads into the only problem with that is he never showed in the film that these same mules went back over and over and over again, right? That was one of the criticisms by Ben Shapiro. Right, that they were relying solely on the what do they call it? The geo tracking the dots that you would see all the activity going from here to there, back and forth, or
which in and of itself is extremely unscientific. It doesn't really prove much. There was a scene where he shows somebody with gloves. Somebody pulling in ballads and then taking off his gloves, right? And that was supposed to be, big evidence of, why he wanted to hide his fingerprints. I mean, maybe it's also the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Right, or maybe it's the middle of a pandemic and everybody was wearing gloves. No, but look,
and that's the first thing that came to mind when I saw that.
Right, and you see, and like if you're making an honest and you want an honest honest view of something, why not mention things like that? Like, why not mention things that are possibilities? I mean, you're making a documentary, dude. You know, ballot harvesting, right? In I think 26 states, ballot harvesting is legal. You may not like it, but it is legal. And all ballot harvesting is that there's one person that gets ballots from older people that can make it out. It could 5-6 ballots, usually within the family, right? And they take it off to specific ballot locations. I mean, Dropbox locations, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, you may not like it, but it is legal, right? And so showing somebody dropping off multiple ballots, that's not evidence of election fraud.
True, it's not. But that does leave that door open for funny business.
It does, but you still have to prove the funny business.
And I agree. Totally agree. I'm gonna have to cut it.
Yeah,
to be continued. Definitely.
Yeah,
Somebody. Okay, here. I want to address a question I saw here. Oh, no, find it right. I should have started. I didn't.
I saw a post that you find that. Maybe you can answer this. I saw a post that you had recently talking about some local victim. Who are you talking about? The biggest victim of them all, or
the biggest victim of them all down here in Raymondville.
Well, there's a few.
No, there's one massive one with red lips.
Oh, you're talking about Vanessa.
Damn it, I can't find it. The question was.
Yes, just wave your head. Yes, no.
Vanessa.
Oh, okay.
Should it? Oh man, how come I can't find it? Now it's a law where you can't chain your dog up in the backyard and just leave him there all day and all night and all day and all night forever.
Chain what?
You can't leave your dog tied up to a tree or to a pole and just leave him there day and night.
Right.
So my understanding is you can, as long as the guy's got shelter and he's being fed and the chain is long enough for him to run around or walk around enough.
So there was some loopholes in that law then?
Well, that's what I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I mean, I'm an animal lover. People, this is a cultural thing. When I first started coming down here back in 2000 and seeing how my family dealt with pets. They go, oh yeah, that's our pet. That's our dog. Where's he? Oh, he's tied up in the back. Never came in the house. Nobody ever petted him. He just was tied with a literal chain to a pole. And that was the pet.
Yeah, because he serves one purpose. That's to bark just to alert the family whenever there's, or to scare people away.
But I come from a life where you have inside dogs. You got your dog. Right. Yeah, he's part of the family. You bring him inside. Don't let him get loose and get hit by a car or whatever. But okay, fine. So everybody does it. Everybody ties up their dog out back. And I don't like that. Especially if there's no shelter. But if the dog's got a shelter, a little dog house or whatever, or a porch or covered whatever, and he can walk around freely, long enough of a chain, he can walk around, do his business, and go smell and do whatever he wants to do. And he's getting food and drink. I'm okay with that as long as he's free to come and go.
Right.
That was a question. Should it be illegal to tie up your dog and leave in the backyard?
I don't know, man. That's probably not one for me to answer. That's a tough one. I mean,
tough one.
If I was a dog, I would say no. I don't think I have anything worth adding to that.
So you're okay. You're okay if your neighbor next door leaves his dog tied out day and night, no shelter, rain, shine.
I didn't say that.
20 below.
Let me put words in my mouth, man.
You said you didn't have anything to say about it. Sounds like you do got something to say about it.
No, I mean, I'm not okay with. I'm within reason. You know what I mean? Like, um, I don't disagree with you when you said as long as the chain's long enough, it's being fed, it's being taken care of. Obviously, maybe if it's freezing out or it's cold out, there has to be some kind of consideration for that, dude. Some people just don't like inside dogs, dude. My dad's
Yeah.
one of them. He doesn't. He hates the idea of having dogs inside the house, right? Um, but even like somebody like my dad, like his view on animals has evolved over the time because man, he used to be very very mean with our dogs, and
No, no.
we even talk about it now, man. And he was like, man, again, I can't believe some of the like how mean I treated some of those dogs, and now he's like with the dogs that we've had recently, man. He nicer, let's put it like that.
Yeah, I'm a animal lover, and
But again, like you said, it's culture, man.
yeah.
So you're anti like fighting dogs and all that stuff. I'm assuming, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Dog fighting. Yeah.
yeah. Even chickens, cockfighting. That's a cultural thing. I'm not a fan of that. I know it goes on in the Philippines. It's bigger than in Mexico.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah, dude. It's like stadiums just for cockfighting.
Oh no way!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. At least it was years ago. I don't know if it's the same anymore, but
Yeah.
and it's just not my thing. I don't know.
All right, Manny. Let's
Alrighty. Hey, everyone who hung out and visited for a while, thanks for participating in an awesome discussion, which is definitely not over yet. This is one of those that can have many parts to it. And again, the main thing was the shooting that happened at the Uvalde school. Horrible. As of right now, I haven't even checked to see what the updates are. But the last we saw, it was 18 children dead.
3 adults.
His grandmother, at first they said she was dead, but then I kept hearing that she was still alive, that she was surviving. So I don't know what's happening there. And then a teacher, for sure, they showed her photograph online. Beautiful lady. Young, and just stupid crap that shouldn't have happened. And now they're putting pictures of the kids up there, some of them that are gone. And sad, bad, it's a horrible thing. So the topic's going to keep coming up. Gun control, we got to make stricter gun laws, and
and I think we'll be all right if we stray away from the politics behind it, and if we just have just honest conversations, man. If we just have honest conversations, like I think you and I approached the conversation honestly, even when we don't agree on things. At least I know that that's what you really think. I know you're not trying to sell me something or what have you, and I hope you don't get the impression that that's what I'm trying to do.
no.
And we disagree on things, but on things like gun control, abortion, these are conversations that people find it so easily just to revert to what their party says about it, or to what the party say about it, to what their church says about it, or whatever. These are complicated issues, man, that if you don't get away from your tribal affinities, they're never going to get solved, man, because it requires us to put the anger down, to put our swords back in the sheath, and actually sit down and talk about them, man. Because if we're not able to have a conversation about that, then literally, man, we're doomed. We're doomed.
If people could have discussions like this on Twitter, on Facebook, nobody would get banned or blocked or whatever, because they're just a conversation. You know what? You got your opinion, man. I got mine. We'll talk about it. Hey, we're still friends, whatever.
Right.
And not everybody starts calling each other names, and then the nasty names, and then it gets stupid.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, we'll save it for another day.
All right, Manny. Well, thanks for having me on, man. We'll have updates tomorrow also. So if you guys will follow us again, RC3 Podcast on Spotify. You find us on Facebook also, RC3 Podcast. Um, like I said, we'll have all the updates also for you tomorrow. We usually go on around 2 or 3 in the afternoon on the Overtime Podcast. So um, just like Manny, we'll have all the updates for you. We'll have a discussion and debate, and we'll see if we can come up with some solutions. And by then, let's see if we have a motive.
Try and save the world. Yeah, hopefully there's a motive or a note left behind or something, right?
Yeah.
Hey, tomorrow morning I've got Kate Moss. We've got Kate Moss testifying for Johnny Depp.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you have Kate Moss on the show. I'm like, Manny, you dog you? Where have you been? Where have you been hiding?
Yeah, Kate Moss will be here at my studio tomorrow morning. 8 o'clock in the morning, the Johnny Depp defamation lawsuit against Amber. And tomorrow, and then Thursday is the last day of the trial. After that, they start doing closing arguments and wrap it up, buddy. And we're going to see what's going to happen. Should be interesting.
I think Johnny's going to lose, man.
I think he's going to win, but he's not going to get any money. That's what I think.
It's very hard to prove defamation, man. And supposedly in that Washington Post article that she wrote about him, she didn't even mention his name. I guess it was assumed that it was him, right? But she didn't even mention his name.
I think it was a good assumption too.
Specifically, yeah.
That's one of those things. Well, I'm not going to say his name, but it's about him.
Yeah.
And
regardless, man, that was one toxic relationship from.
Agreed, and he's not free from fault in all this either.
Yeah,
but she's
a maniac, though.
Yeah, she's some kind of piece of work. She is.
All right, man.
So that'll be at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, and should be interesting. Raul, man, appreciate it, bro. We got to do this again more often.
You let me know when, man, and
maybe I'll visit you tomorrow afternoon.
Está bueno. Sounds like a plan, brother. You got it.
All right, guys. All right, see you, buddy.
All right, man.
And everyone else, have a great night. Thanks for hanging out for a little while. Had a lot to say. It's always nice when you can have a conversation with someone and differ, right? But not get into a fight and not call each other names. Certain topics are very sensitive. The whole school shooting thing. I saw it, and then it came across, and I'll admit I didn't pay attention to the whole thing until a few more alerts kept popping up. And when I heard the victims' ages, 6th grade and down, it bothered me. And then when they started displaying the last names of the kids, they were all Spanish, they're all our people, right? For the most part, Mexican American. And it's so sad. So freaking sad. And then they showed the guy's face. And I'm not a fan of glorifying or showing who it is, showing his name, showing his picture. Because I think that's, I know it's not glorifying him, but you know what? Don't give him any attention. So that's why I don't want to show his photo. I know it's going to be hard to share articles tomorrow that don't have his photo because everybody's going to want to share it. But you kill kids like that so cold-blooded, you're some kind of piece of crap. And, the death penalty was made for a certain kind of person. And I think there's a purpose to the death penalty. So in this case, there was gunfire exchange with police officers, and they were able to take care of the situation on the spot, but not before he did a lot of damage. And so the question is, why did he do it? And I suppose we'll never know unless his grandmother survived, if she did. If there was some kind of a note or a diary or a manifesto or whatever you want to call it left behind. Parents need to get more involved with their kids. Parents need to get more involved with their kids. I'm going to sound like somebody else for saying this 3 times. Parents need to get more involved with their kids. You got to be involved with their homework. You got to be involved with their schoolwork. You got to be involved with their after-school activities, sports, clubs, whatever, friends, families. Where do they go? Sometimes you got to be a stalker. You got to secretly follow them once in a while, see what they're doing. You have a right to do that. They're your freaking child. You need to know what's going on with your kid for their protection, to keep them from being harmed or from doing harm. I know it's easy. I know it's easy to just give them a video game and put them in a corner or put them in their room. And I'm not saying video games was the cause of that, but part of me believes and movies too, so much, and I'm not saying I don't like it, but so much graphic violence, and they make it so easy to kill someone in a movie. I think some people can get desensitized to that. And, life imitates art. Well, I think that's what happens. And they fire a gunshot and they don't relate. Oh, this is real life, not a movie. That's a special kind of gun. That's, special effects blood. I think they become desensitized to that. Part of me does believe that. No, I'm not into banning video games and none of that stuff. But there's got to be some kind of connection there. There has to be. Movies like TV shows, the zombie things, right? You got to kill all the zombies. And it's like a free-for-all. If you got guns and you got zombies coming at you, it's target practice. And to an extent, it looks fun. But some minds are going to handle that information differently. But, you got to get more involved with what they watch. I think young people that age, well, he's 18 now. He just turned 18 last week. But when they're growing up, 14, 13, 12, the tweens, right? And you start to let them watch those, rated R or whatever, NC-17 or the movies with the violence in it. You start letting them watch that stuff. Maybe that is a problem. Are there statistics? I don't know. That's a whole investigation. Are there any kind of studies with that? But it's not impossible to believe that kind of movies or video games or whatever can, mentally mess them up. And by mess them up, I mean just make them feel a certain way differently about death. They might not even think death is final. Being shot or shooting somebody, they might think it's like a movie. He'll be okay. We'll go to the hospital, and they just don't know. I think young people are being desensitized. I think parents are not involved enough, for sure. And get more involved. Find a way to do it. I know it's tough. You got to work 2 jobs. You're a single mom or a single dad. But you got to figure it out somehow. You got to get involved or get more people involved, more family, aunts, uncles, grandparents, get them more involved. What does it say? It takes a village, right? I totally believe that. You got a village of elders helping you with that child, raise them, stay involved, let them know everybody's involved, let them know you're involved. Maybe we won't have as many of these stupid shootings. This one obviously was not racially, well, I don't think it was racially motivated, the guy in Buffalo who went into the grocery store shooting people. That's on video. Have you seen that video from his angle? He had a camera right here. I saw it. I saw him kill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 8 people. I saw it. And that guy was racist. It was racist. Racism. He had the N-word on his rifle. And even then, racism is not. You're not born racist. You're taught to be racist by shitty parents. So who's to blame? If it's the parents that were not involved, or if it's a friend he grew up with, or the friend's parents that he grew up with, somebody's involved. Somebody's to blame. I think racism is so stupid right now. Racism is dumb. How can anyone be racist in 2022? A simple mind. Anyway, hey, I appreciate you all hanging out. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to try to watch a movie and hit the sack because got to be up and ready at 8 a.m. for the Johnny Depp trial. Kate Moss. It's good. I hope it's going to be an all-day thing, and it should be pretty good. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate it very, very much. Love your input, reading all the comments, and trying to get to them. And but I do appreciate y'all. So we'll wrap it up right now. Be back tomorrow at 8. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be good. And the Facebook thing, I'm still waiting on they won't tell me how long my restriction is for. I've asked like 4 times. There's email exchanges back and forth. And every single time, I'm like, okay, fine. When does my restriction end? When did it actually start? And they won't give me an answer. Oh, it's only temporary. So this coming Monday is going to be 30 days. Maybe it's a 30-day thing. So in the meantime, I'm posting to the group. I'll be doing the lives from the group. And if you would join that, I would appreciate it. And if you join the group, why does that sound weird, group? If you join the group, there is a link you got to follow if you use Facebook. And I just put the link in the comments. If you join a group and you're on Facebook, please allow StreamYard to show your Facebook stuff. Otherwise, in the comments here on the side, or you're typing in the comments, you're only going to see, it's not going to show your name. It's only going to show Facebook user. Now, if you're okay with that, that's fine. But I won't be able to see who you are or address you properly. So don't forget to do that. Okay, time for a break. Everyone have a great night. Thank you again. For your support and for being out here. Love it. I love talking to you guys. Be good to each other. Reach out to people. There's a lot of people who are having a problem and we don't know. We think everything is fine. And just tell people it's okay for you to call me. Yeah? You all right? Yeah, call me. And what I said before, my number is there. My email's there, the messenger. Somebody has a problem, you're feeling down, you call, message me, let's start a conversation. I'm not going to get all clinical and be like a psychiatrist or anything like that. Like I told someone else, I'm better than a psychiatrist because I don't charge $200 an hour, right? So get in touch. If you got a problem, get in touch. Always want to talk. Be glad to. And there's a lot of people who watch who are also glad to help and talk. So, all right, blah, blah, blah. I'm rambling. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you again. We'll see you tomorrow morning. See ya.